Most agency founders don't run out of time, they just spend it wrong. They use their best energy in low leverage tasks and wonder why the needle isn't moving. This is how to design your week for maximum output based on energy, value, and impact. Every hour you work is not created equal. There are hours when you're focused, strategic, and sharp, and there are hours when you're drained, distracted, and just reacting. If your calendar doesn't reflect that, you're leaking potential, and your agency is paying the price. This is how I time block my week to maximize energy, prioritize high leverage work, and drive results that actually build the business. Hey guys, I'm Ben Gerster, and I scaled my marketing agency to over $400,000 in monthly reoccurring revenue, implementing smart, scalable frameworks that helped me achieve those results. And in this video, we're gonna be talking about one of the biggest hacks possible, which is how you design your time, your calendar as a founder to leverage it at its fullest potential. One of my biggest frustrations throughout my years running an agency was that I never felt like I truly owned my own calendar. My team owned it, my clients owned it, my sales calls owned it. I had no control over how each day was going to function. And what it left me with was fragments of time, little pockets in between meetings that I was supposed to be doing some of the most important, most challenging, most strategic work for our agency to move forward. Or I was left with time after hours where I would try to do some of my most creative, heavy mental load work. And that just doesn't work after a long day of exhausting meetings to try to do your best work in the evening before the day is over. So this system is what solves all of that problem, and it puts your calendar back in your control. And it's all built around the concept of time blocking. So let's take a look at time blocking and how you can use this technique right now, tomorrow. You can start this process, planning your time, protecting your time, and starting to see far better output with every hour you invest into your business. All right, so let's take a look at the time blocking model now. I have dropped a link below in this video to a spreadsheet version of this. It's a free template. Come and download it and use this. You can fill it out. It has deep definitions on everything that we're going to be talking about, and it'll allow you to customize as we go along. So go and download that now and follow along on your own sheet if you'd like to. The first step of time blocking is going to be to map your blocks. Blocks in this case are going to be generic buckets, if you want to think of them like this. They're just protected time that's designated for certain activities. So important to note, we're not planning this next week specifically right now. We're designing the function of your calendar, the flow of events on your calendar. Where do specific tasks based on these categories fit on your calendar for it to be an optimal time for you to be focused on that? So we're going to start with self. And this is really a category that's around energy management. When we book time on the calendar for ourselves, that's an opportunity for us to elevate our energy, for us to recharge, for us to do something fulfilling for us. So this is a category that you should have a planned block on your time, a planned block on your calendar for yourself, or else what you may have already experienced is you will be forgotten on your calendar, and that's not good. We need to recharge, and we need to have some time in there for a little bit of balance and actually giving ourselves some enjoyment in the process. The next one is family. And this is really your relationship equity. This is how you're going to invest in those relationships, be present in those relationships. I think we all know what it feels like to try to come home and be a great parent or a great spouse at the end of a long, exhausting day, and our minds aren't there, and we're trying to cram in a date night, or we're trying to cram something in randomly. That doesn't work. We should have intentional time set aside and protected on our calendar that is reserved for those relationships. It's reserved for us to be fully present in those relationships. The next one is create. Now, this is probably the most important time block for you as a founder to drive your business forward. This is where you will do deep work and have strategic output. So these are your biggest projects. These are the most important, not urgent projects that will push your business forward. This could be marketing projects, this could be launching a new campaign, this could be building a new process or a new system or a new offering for the agency. This is some of the most important work that you must have time for. And this work needs to be protected. It can't have interruptions. You will not be able to do this deep work if you've got meetings spliced in between, or you've got people asking for your time or slacking you or doing whatever to interrupt you. You need to set aside protected time. In this category, we should be booking anywhere between 90 minutes to 3 hours at least 2 times to 4 times a week. So this really does take a lot of the time on the calendar. So again, 90 minutes to 3 hour block that we're going to place on our calendar in a certain position, and we're going to see at least 2 to 4 of these blocks on the calendar so that you've got enough time proportionately to be focused on the highest leverage activities for your agency to grow. Now, the other thing about this block that we need to be thinking about is, when are you the most creative? When do you have the best brain power in a day? Are you waking up at 5 a.m. and working out and you come in on fire, and the first 3 hours your brain is just firing and you're ready with good ideas, a fresh brain? Is that the time that you should be blocking out for this? The first part of your day where you protect it like sacred territory, you don't let meetings get booked in it? That might be the case. For me, that is the case. It's in the morning. If I put this at the end of the day, then I'm drained and I'm tired by the time I get to my most important work, and I don't want that to be the case. The next one is manage. Team enablement. Your team still needs you, and you do need to help manage them. You need to be looking at any of the important activities that you oversee, the people that you're managing. Those are really important activities. So you do want to be able to collaborate and work with that team. And so this is going to be 90 minutes at least 2 times per week that you set aside time that you'll be in management mode. Now, management mode can mean a lot of things, and you'll have to determine what those specific activities are, but you will need time dedicated to this. The next one is meet. Meet is your collaborative time. It's when you actually will be interacting with your team and potentially with clients, prospects, anybody else that you need to have meetings for. This is a 90-minute, at least 2 times a week block. You'll need to customize this a little bit to fit you. But what I'll tell you about meet time that's really important is, with meet time, you have an opportunity to preset these blocks. So let's assume this is a little bit longer than just 12 p.m. But let's say that on Tuesdays, you're going to open up an hour and a half of meet time on your calendar. And let's say the other times that you're going to open up, you might open up Thursdays. You may say that this is my other block that I'm willing to meet with teams. If you let your team know that this is the only time that's available, and you leave it open on your calendar, and they are allowed to book in that time, then they can schedule their meetings around your availability. They need to find an opportunity to meet with you during these pre-designated blocks. This way, they're not trying to get you on a meeting here and here and here and chopping up a really important, potentially create block that you've built for yourself where you're supposed to be in create mode. So this is very important to make sure your team is aware of when your meet blocks are scheduled so that they know when to schedule with you and they know how to reference your calendar availability. The next one is buffer. Chaos insurance. Things are not going to stay perfect in your plan. It's a guarantee that something is going to end up changing. And so you're going to need to bake in at least 2 hours, 2 times a week. That's like 4 hours of buffer time. You may need more time on a project. There's definitely going to be a surprise that pops up. We're in a business, we're in an agency. That means every single week there's going to be something that comes up that's going to need your time. So you may as well have time. Don't do this perfectly blocked out one after the other, or else you'll set yourself up for failure. You're going to need to plan in some buffer time. Now, the final one is the plan, which is a weekly clarity ritual. This is where you spend 90 minutes one time a week, usually on a Sunday, and you will plan out the week. And now this is really how this whole process works and comes together. So let's assume that we have gone through this process and we have designated all of our main blocks. Maybe self for you is going to be workouts. Maybe you're doing that early in the morning. So you're working out. And you do that every single morning, let's say. So this is fully blocked out for you here. And then you have your family time. Maybe that's going to be in the evenings. You've got meet time that you've got on your calendar. You've got your create time on the calendar on certain days. Maybe you have 2 days of create time. Now, one other thing I'll tell you that I personally like to do is I like to take my meet time and condense it on a Monday, and I just let that day be a day of meetings. I don't want to have to compete with meetings. I want everybody to know Mondays, if you need me, you put it on my calendar for Monday and I will meet you, I will be available. So I like to consolidate that. Regardless, we have all of our different moments built into here. We've got some management time that we'll have in here as well somewhere. So we'll just assume that we've got a management block here. Okay. The point of doing this is as we start to fill in and design, this is truly designing our time on a Sunday, we should be sitting down for 90 minutes looking at our project list, looking at email, looking at any of our priorities that have been coming in throughout the last week, taking stock of what is priority for this next week, what must be getting done in the following week. And on that Sunday, we should then come into the calendar and we should specifically lay in any of those tasks so that we know specifically what am I using that block for? What am I using the management time for? And is there meetings that I need to set in my meetings times? So on a Sunday, it gets detailed out and it becomes real for you to use this time in those ways for specific tasks that you've selected. The other thing about this process is once you've mapped out your blocks in just a general design format, and the spreadsheet I've given you allows you to do this exercise, then you need to take this and you need to transfer it to a digital calendar. Whether you're using Google Calendar or Outlook, you should be making this a very clear view in that calendar. I like to set these blocks up as free space or blocked space if I don't want somebody scheduling in a future time block. And then as I come in on Sunday, I end up removing them and detailing them out and replacing them with very specific tasks. So this does need to be committed to your digital calendar so that the time is reserved accordingly for these things. And then again, every time you come in on a Sunday, you want to customize the week over and over and over every Sunday, customize the upcoming week. So in reality, you don't need more time. You just need to use your time more like a strategic asset. Time blocking isn't about micromanagement. It's about intention in the way you use your calendar. It's about placing the highest value work in your highest energy zones, designing your calendar like a founder to watch your output and your business multiply results because you're spending your time on the right activities at the right time of the day. So if you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. I drop a new video every single week with tips and new frameworks that you can implement into your business immediately to make it more scalable, more efficient, and more enjoyable to run. Until the next time, stay hungry, stay focused, and keep hustling.